All right, let me tell you about a woman who convinced the world she was the next Steve Jobs. But instead of changing healthcare forever, she built the world's most expensive scam science project. Yeah, this is the story of Elizabeth Holmes, the dropout who went from black turtlenecks to orange jumpsuits. Buckle up because it gets messy. It's 2003. Elizabeth Holmes is 19, studying chemical engineering at Stanford. And unlike most of us who were just trying not to flunk calculus, she was plotting her change the world story. She hated needles. That's where the light bulb moment hit. What if you could test for hundreds of diseases with just one drop of blood? Now, to normal people, this sounds impossible. To scientists, it sounds insane. But Elizabeth? She's thinking, why waste time with books and professors when I can just become the youngest billionaire ever? So she drops out after her freshman year, takes her tuition money, and launches a company. She names it Theranos, Therapy plus Diagnosis. Fancy branding, very Silicon Valley. She starts pitching professors, engineers, and investors. And here's the kicker. She didn't even have working technology. What she had was an idea, a black turtleneck, and a voice she lowered 2 octaves to sound more like Darth Vader than a 19-year-old. And it worked. She had this intense, unblinking stare, the kind where you're either inspired or terrified. Investors bought it. Employees bought it. Eventually, the whole world bought it. She wasn't just starting a company, she was crafting a character. Now, most startups spend years pitching, grinding, getting rejected. Elizabeth, she was the opposite. She had billionaires chasing her. Why? Because she was selling the perfect Silicon Valley fantasy, a young genius with a life-changing invention. By 2010, Theranos had raised $92 million. Then came the big names, Larry Ellison, Rupert Murdoch, Henry Kissinger, Betsy DeVos, billionaires, politicians, ex-cabinet members, people who didn't know jack about biotech but knew a unicorn when they saw one. The list of believers was wild. She had generals from the U.S. military, diplomats, and Fortune 500 CEOs on her board. No scientists, of course, because anyone with a PhD in biochemistry would have asked the one fatal question: can the machine actually work? But nah, Elizabeth didn't want that kind of negativity. She wanted influence, and she got it. By 2013, Walgreens was on board. They signed a deal to put Theranos blood machines in their stores nationwide. Safeway invested $350 million. Suddenly, Theranos wasn't just a startup. It was the future of healthcare. And the media? They went nuts. Fortune, Forbes, Incorporated. They plastered her face everywhere. Elizabeth Holmes, the female Steve Jobs, youngest self-made female billionaire, net worth $4.5 billion. Meanwhile, in the lab, her employees were ripping their hair out. The Edison machine barely worked. It could only handle a couple of tests, and even those results were unreliable. When it failed, they quietly sent the blood to standard machines in the back and pretended it came from Theranos tech. It wasn't a revolution. It was smoke and mirrors. Here's the cruel part. This wasn't just a financial scam. Real patients were relying on those tests. Imagine being told you're HIV positive or pregnant or have cancer based on a machine that couldn't even calibrate properly. One patient walked into a Walgreens, used Theranos, and was told she had a miscarriage. Later, a hospital test said her baby was fine. Others were told they had life-threatening diseases when they didn't. False positives, false negatives, chaos. Inside Theranos, it was worse. Employees who questioned Elizabeth or Sunny Balwani, her secret boyfriend and COO, got bullied, silenced, or fired. The place was run like a cult. People were forced to sign NDAs so heavy they made the CIA look casual. And yet, Elizabeth kept doubling down. She didn't admit flaws. She didn't slow down. She went on TV shows, did TED Talks, and used that deep voice to hypnotize the world. This will revolutionize healthcare. She said it so many times that even she probably believed it. The scary part? Everyone else believed it too. Journalists, investors, doctors, politicians. She built an empire of credibility on nothing but confidence. But eventually, the cracks were too big to hide. In 2015, John Carreyrou, a Wall Street Journal reporter, starts digging. He talks to ex-employees who say, "Yeah, this thing doesn't work at all." Elizabeth panics. She threatens lawsuits, hires expensive lawyers, and tries to intimidate the journal. But Carreyrou won't back off. The article drops, and boom. The Theranos empire starts collapsing in real time. The FDA investigates, Walgreens pulls out, investors demand answers, patients sue. In less than a year, Theranos goes from a $9 billion golden child to a bankrupt disaster. Elizabeth, she goes full denial. She goes on TV and says, "This is what happens when you threaten vested interests." Translation: it's not me, it's the haters. She wanted everyone to believe she was just another misunderstood genius, like Steve Jobs when people laughed at the iPhone. Except this wasn't an iPhone. This was people's health. By 2018, the company is officially dead. The employees are gone. The machines are collecting dust. Theranos is a punchline. In 2018, Holmes and Sonny are indicted on multiple counts of fraud. Prosecutors accuse them of lying to investors, doctors, patients, basically anyone who would listen. And the trial? It's brutal. Witness after witness comes forward saying they were misled, manipulated, or silenced. Elizabeth's defense? She claimed she didn't mean to defraud anyone. She even said Sonny was controlling and abusive, that he manipulated her. The jury didn't fully buy it. In 2022, she's found guilty on 4 counts of fraud and sentenced to 11 years in prison. Now she's serving her time in Texas. Not quite Silicon Valley, not quite Steve Jobs. And here's the kicker. She still managed to find love. She married a hotel heir, had kids, and somehow convinced people she was still this tragic genius. Meanwhile, investors lost hundreds of millions. Walgreens and Safeway burned, patients scarred, employees traumatized. The fallout was massive, not just for Elizabeth, but for Silicon Valley. Suddenly, people realized, hey, maybe don't believe every wide-eyed 20-year-old who promises to change the world. So yeah, Elizabeth Holmes went from billionaire visionary to convicted fraud in less than a decade. She promised to change healthcare with a drop of blood, with a single-minded vision that made her look unstoppable. But the reality? She proved that with a turtleneck, a deep voice, and a convincing story, you can fool literally everyone. Investors, corporations, doctors, even presidents. And here's the thing. The scary part isn't just that she lied. The scary part is how many people wanted to believe her. Because we all want to invest in the next Steve Jobs, the next Musk, the next Zuckerberg. We all love a good hero story. Elizabeth played that role perfectly, until reality caught up with her. But let's be real. The fallout was massive. Walgreens and Safeway lost millions. Employees were left terrified and disillusioned. Patients were misdiagnosed, scared, sometimes permanently affected. Silicon Valley had to stop and rethink. Maybe not every 20-year-old with a pitch deck is a genius. Maybe some are just very good at faking it. And here's the part that makes your jaw drop. Even after everything, Elizabeth didn't completely disappear from the world. She found love, got married, and had children. People still write her letters, some still defend her. Somehow, the woman who lost billions of dollars, shattered careers, and endangered lives still managed to build a personal life that looks normal. Meanwhile, the rest of us are just sitting here, scrolling and wondering how someone could pull off a scam this huge and still somehow get fans. The ultimate lesson? Vision is powerful. Charisma is powerful. But unchecked ambition combined with charm? That can be devastating. Theranos wasn't just a failed company, it was a cautionary tale. A reminder that confidence can be mistaken for competence, and a turtleneck can make almost anything believable, until it isn't. So the next time someone promises you the impossible, remember Elizabeth Holmes, remember Theranos, and ask yourself, is this the next world-changing innovation, or just another story about a very clever scam?